Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome everybody to Scarefest Radio's Body and Spirit, brought to you by Mama Ruby's Holistic and Mystical Shows. Quick reminder everybody, the Psychic Fair in Lexington, the Mystical Fair Lex, is coming up April 13th and 14th, 2019, coming up just, that's a couple weeks away, right after Tax Day. Now tonight my guest is Mr. Coyote Chris Sutton. Don't forget to unmute him, so we can hear him cough and gag and stuff. Tonight we're talking soul retrieval. Now, as most of you that are fans of Scarefest Radio and have watched and have paid any attention to me when I did Paranormal Filler and any of my other shows know that Chris is a shaman by metaphysical trait. I'll let him explain what shaman means, but the main thing is, okay, soul retrieval. Now, before we start the conversation, I'm going to explain why this topic is coming up tonight. Because Chris wanted to straighten my ass out, basically. I broached the subject in passing when I was talking to Mark James of Akashic Awareness on one episode. And I don't know where my mind went, but I took soul retrieval a place that it does not belong. And so we'll discuss a little bit about why a soul might need to be retrieved. But first of all, just go ahead and bring Mr. Sutton online and look at his nice haircut, everybody. He's I can't call it. I'll still call him a hippie because of myriad other reasons. But he is looking much more presentable than the beatnik haircut that he had before.
Yes, it's. And my wife and rest of the world also liked his haircut as well, it seems. It was getting a little too shaggy, and it was my look when I was after I had my hip surgery, anything like that. But, one day I decided, okay, let's just cut it off, and this is what we came up with. And actually, I have to admit that I kind of like it. So, I told Julia, my wife Julia, I said, I have an image to upkeep. I cannot go around looking like a freaking banker. But I've got the earring, and I've got, the tattoos and everything like that. And so, I can do without the hair, I guess. So, it's cool. I like it.
Now, something that I've done with the audio, apparently, for this show, I didn't go back and check everything. I'm getting a little bit of a... It's a reverb. It's not an echo. So, just so you know, yes, if the audio sounds funny, it sounds funny to me, too. So, don't freak out.
Okay.
Now,
I did start to freak out for a minute, I'll be honest.
Now, let's...
There's a delay. Wes and I have a history of being when we're on the radio or on video together of something invariably going wrong, and so and how many times have we been on together?
I don't even want to think about how long I've known you, let alone how many times we've actually.
Well, I can answer that. It was we met in 2014, and it was at you're looking for a guest for Easter Sunday on Paranormal Filler. And of course, who do you get the biggest heretic in the world to be on Easter Sunday on your show? But I behaved myself, and we had a good time.
I didn't broach it like that. Basically, I knew that he wasn't going to church that Sunday, so we,
he had a safe bet there.
So we had that covered. Now, first of all, let's introduce you to the people that don't know you, as if there's anybody left on the internet in the metaphysical world that does not know Mr. Chris Sutton. But what is a shaman?
Okay, this is like the fifth time this week I've answered this question, and I think I give a different answer every time because there's so many different ways to view it. Because so many different, like United States or North America, how many different Indian tribes? 500 and something. So you've got 500 different ways of practicing shamanism, or you go into Europe and there's all these different ways. But basically, and I'm going to use the old tribal term, is that the shaman is the person who represents the people to the spirit, to God, the spirit world, God's multiple, however you went about doing those things or thinking about those things. And the shaman's job is to journey to the spirit world. And in core shamanism, it's called the underworld. We're going to talk more about core shamanism, I think, later on tonight. And there it's like, one person asked me, is it like astral travel? And I guess it is. You basically astral travel to this place where the spirits will come to meet you. It's not their house. It's not your house. It's like a neutral ground kind of place that you kind of construct yourself, because spirit, your God, wants you to be comfortable. So you make your own world up, and you go there. And after you practice several times, they start to come out to see you. So you ask them, okay, I've got this problem. What should I do? Say like somebody is sick, and you go and you spirit travel, and you go and the bear spirit comes out and says, shows you this root. Okay, use this root to cure this person. So you go back and you use that root. That's the medicine you use. So you're like an intercessor between the people and the spirits. Also, shamans were responsible for leading ceremonies. So like in the Sioux tradition, they led the Inipi, which is sweat lodge ceremonies, the sun dance, the Hamblachea, which is the vision quest, crying for a vision. They were in charge of making sure that was done correctly. And so basically, and usually all those things came from the spirits in the spirit world in the first place. And so you're just making sure that's done right from the time it was handed down. But yeah, basically that's what a shaman does, is that they work with the spirits and to help other folks. And they also use those gifts or whatever as seers, psychics and healers, and they fight evil spirits and that type of thing as well. So, and in the tribal sense, they would go out and try to attract game, to honor the animals, and so the animals would come and sacrifice themselves for the people.
That explanation gets longer every time I ask it.
Doesn't it though? Because I just keep thinking of more stuff. And it's actually that's a short answer. I've never given it enough justice. Actually, I'm such a minimalist most of the time that I just do what I do what I'm told, and leave it at that. But that's part of it too.
Well, then by that standard, I'm a shaman too.
Yeah, you must be. Well, you and I have talked about that in the past, about how you have certain gifts that you have yet to fully bring out. So we're still working with you. So we'll see.
I don't think. Well, once again, though, part of the reason my gifts are limited is because I really believe that I've got angels and spirit guides that are just scared to piss what I would actually do if they actually gave me any real gifts. I mean, I'd be John Edwards on TV, talking, hey, yes, your mother is here. No, because I'm too much of a show off. So these, in other words, they give me just what I need. They, as far as the job at hand.
And someday you may change, and in that case, okay, well, he's safe now. Yeah, it's like giving a load of 38 to a baby, sort of.
Yeah. So yeah. That's a very apt description. Everybody, a little backstory. I used to tell people that if I believed that if I needed the ability to levitate objects, that God and the angels and my spirit guides would give me that gift. Mm-hmm. And I had a dream one night where I was walking through this building and showing off for, what's her name? The psychic, she lives up in Louisville now. But anyway, for no particular reason, I don't know why she even was in the dream. But I was going through this old building, and I was just levitating shit. Just, making shit fly around, just to show I could do it. And when I woke up, I said, that's why they don't give me that gift. That's what I would do. It would be a dog and pony show, so they just said, no, you don't need that. That's our way of telling you, cool your heels.
You would be levitating skirt hems, is what you would be.
No,
levitating.
I would not. Why does everybody? I'm too old to worry about that stuff anymore, and that's what the internet's for.
Yeah,
Now
no.
now
Okay.
okay now on soul retrieval. Now,
Yes.
when I broached it the first time, I got into this whole parallel universe thing, and really, when it comes down to it, correct me if I'm wrong, or if there's more to it that you think should be explained. But when we shed our mortal coil, generally, when we're talking about a ghost, sometimes we make the assumption that that is the trapped soul, if you will, of a person that has left this world, that has died. But oftentimes, what we call a ghost is not the entire soul of a person. It's, in other words, the good part moves on. Sometimes the baggage, I don't even want to say the bad part, the baggage will stay behind. And then also, I'm not, now I will get in parallel universes here just a little bit. And when we're talking about parallel universes, people, basically that means that, like, if you decide to get married or not get married, that's a big decision in your life. In some universe, you might have made that decision differently. And, but so in other words, you live two lives. And then, let's say for whatever reason, when you die in one of them, that soul could, whatever reason, get stuck behind. Now, I don't know if that even falls into Chris's math or not. But mainly, I think it's the left behind part of the soul. Was that part of the description accurate, Chris?
Your description is awfully broad. When you're talking about different universes, okay, so you're assuming
no, back off the universe.
You're assuming there are time stream splits, right?
Okay, wait a minute. Now, back off that part, because that's when we really get out there. The first part of the description.
I want to set that parameter first.
Okay, let's set that parameter that when we're talking about when we die, and then our soul goes, our spirit, our soul goes to wherever it's supposed to. But sometimes the baggage, certain parts of it, stick around on this earth, and in other words, the ghost you encounter might not be an entire person. Is that part accurate? That's according to
possible.
Your world?
I'm going to say it's possible because it's an interesting concept. The Navajo believe that when a person dies, all that remains on earth is their chindi. The chindi is all the evil, the bad things about a person, which is why, in the old traditionalist sense, if a person died in your Hogan house, you broke a hole in the east wall so the chindi could escape. You don't want to mess with the chindi because it would get into you. That's one way of looking at it. With soul retrievals, the way I was taught is that it's for the living. Okay? Let's say that you had a very traumatic experience as a child. And it was so traumatic that you left a part of your soul back in that time frame. Let's say 11-year-old Wes has a traumatic experience. Is thrown. Now I know you love horses, but this is just an example.
No,
it's thrown off a horse, and has a concussion, and henceforth is scared to death of horses because of this one experience, and it becomes like a phobia. So in a soul retrieval, the goal would be for you and I to work together to go back, for me to take you back to that place in time, to walk you back through it. You say, oh, it's just an accident, it's a freak thing, and pick up that piece of your soul and bring it back to you and to make you more whole again. And that's the premise behind a soul retrieval, is to bring wholeness back to a person. In Michael Harner's book, The Way of the Shaman, he talks about this. And when you talk about soul retrievals these days, it's mostly core shamanism, which is pretty much the technique I was just talking about, where it's working with people in the here and now who have had traumatic experiences. It happens a lot with people who have, as children, had very negative experiences, whether abused or whatnot, and have felt a loss of self-esteem, loss of self-worth because of that. So again, the goal is to walk that person back, and there's a process to that, and I'll discuss that. I mean, how I was taught. I mean, people do it different ways. You go back, you ask basically. Well, I'm gonna use the term astral travel. It's not quite it, but it kind of most people know what that is. Where you both go back together to that point in time with a person. You know, they can be describing it. You can just actually see it in you're together. I've actually done that where you're actually together. And you see what's going on. You talk them through it. This is not you. This is not your fault, because many victims blame themselves. So you're saying this is not, obviously you're too young. You couldn't have stopped this. And they see that understanding of that. And so that piece of the soul comes back. That energy comes back to them. And you bring them back to the present. And now, what you're talking about and I like this, because what happens to the people that don't have a soul retrieval done, which most people don't. It's not something you can look in the yellow pages or on the internet too often. Actually, you have better luck on the internet to find somebody who could do this. But let's say you went to, you die, and those pieces are left. What do they become? Now you're talking about what's left. Is that what we're seeing? That's pretty cool. That's very possible, because it's energy that's left behind of this person. So it would still be somewhat identifiable as a person, but with just one small facet of that person. So, but it's very strong because it's so negative. There's so much pain. People who are empaths that go on ghost hunts for the first time, and they experience these incredible feelings of anguish and terror and fear and all these types of things. That's, are they run into something like that? That's a cool. I had not really thought of that before, but it follows a logical progression that if you're not, parts of your soul are not retrieved, they're still laying around somewhere.
So once again, I hit the tree and missed the target. That's what I'm saying. Everybody, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take our first commercial break. You're watching Body and Spirit, brought to you by Mama Rubies. Have you checked out the Mama Rubies family of metaphysical and spiritual shows? The Mystical Fair in Lexington, Kentucky, Lexington's only monthly psychic and holistic healing arts fair. The Inner Light Festivals in Louisville in June and Lexington in November. And watch for Mama Ruby's Expo coming in 2020. Plus, Mama Ruby's Meta Lecture Series featuring interesting guests speaking on fascinating subjects. Start your journey now at mamarubies.com for more information. And welcome back to Scarefest Radio's Body and Spirit, brought to you by Mama Rubies. And a quick reminder, once again, MysticalFairLex.com. MysticalFairLex.com. The Mystical Fair in Lexington, Kentucky on Whipple Court. You don't even need the address. If you find Whipple Court, it's like, drive to the end of it, and it's a big thing. April 13th and 14th. There's no other buildings on Whipple Court except like a trucking company.
That struck me as funny, I'm sorry. Drive to the end, it's a big building down there someplace, I don't know.
April 13th and 14th, coming up in just a couple weeks. Be sure to tell them you saw it on Scarefest Radio's Body and Spirit. Now, the other thing, before I get back to Chris, I do want to, everybody, our newest sponsor, and the reason he doesn't have a commercial is he's not giving me a script, Akashic Awareness. Mr. Mark James and Shelley James, Akashic Awareness in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. They have joined us as sponsors, and they are a metaphysical healing and learning center unlike any other in Kentucky. A large selection of crystals, gems, and minerals greet you the minute you walk in the door, right about the time Raven, the dog, the official greeter of Akashic Awareness, is there with her tail wagging. Good thing I pointed that, because if they thought like Shelley's nickname was Raven, that would have been really embarrassing. But they offer a selection of metaphysical tools, state-of-the-art healing classes and lectures, and I mean, they've got like foot detox, aura cloud, biomat. They got all kinds of stuff for your metaphysical well-being. And look them up, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. They're open damn near every afternoon except Sunday and Monday. Call Mark a hippie, and he will know that I sent you. Okay. Business out of the way. It had never really occurred to me that as I had, of course, I haven't had that many. I've been lucky. I've not had that many traumatic events. So, but I never occurred to me that I was just like, people lose little pieces of their soul, through their life. Mm-hmm. So I've already learned something. The, first time that you really brought it up to me, we have a mutual friend who will go nameless, whose life is always in I don't want to say shambles, but there's always major drama. Mm-hmm. Shambles is just barely an overstatement. And the reason I'll say that is because actually, if you look at all the pieces, you would say, well, that's a pretty good life. But there's always drama. There's always something going on. And Chris said, I'm not there to help her, but she needs a soul retrieval. And it never even, I didn't get into it. Mm-hmm. But
we're talking about packing a lunch, too. It's going to be an all-day deal.
But, well, okay, now based on that, though, I would say that these little pieces of soul that we fired out because of trauma, mm-hmm. that almost sounds like a cascading effect. Because people, in other words, once you have a major life trauma, mm-hmm. it always seems that you tend to draw more major life trauma through your own doing greatly.
It seems like people, you're right. If you lose chunks of yourself, you're less able to avoid other trouble. And, some of this goes to behavior as well. Some people you watch have these train wrecks of a life. You wonder why, because if you talk to somebody on the street corner for 5 minutes, you kind of figure out, well, this isn't the way to live. But it's almost like that they feed off of that drama after a while because they have to make up. And I'm just kind of free associating here about that idea, but you're making up energy to fill that spot that you lost, because you've lost a piece of energy. It's a positive piece of energy, so you fill it with something that's not positive because it's energy generated out of a negative experience. Because everyone knows how when you're pissed off, it just requires a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. You expend a lot of energy when you're mad compared to when you're happy or when you're calm, just satisfied. So everything's humming and going right, like a fine-tuned car. You lose a chunk of yourself, all of a sudden you got to fill it with something, and so you create this. You seek the drama out because that's giving you that energy to keep you going. But the more it's like crack, the more you use it, the more it tears you up. And so by the time you get to a certain spot, you're pretty wrecked as a human being. Not to the point where you can't come back, but it becomes more and more difficult as you go on. But you have to fill that hole with some sort of energy.
Now, serious question here. As you experience people, now I think I tend to believe that your typical psychic, unlike myself, but your typical psychic, or I'm sure a shaman, or however you want to, whatever gray area in between that you tend to ride. When you experience a person, when you're around a person, can you tell there's something missing? And don't say anything smart about me. Not yet. In other words, is there something about a person that makes you go, oh, you need a soul retrieval? Or is it something that you kind of, like you mentioned, the phobias, in other words, you have to know more about them and say, well, let's give this a shot and see if that's something we need to do?
Like you, I've been blessed with a gift of being able to keep things shut off. That's a gift we are both blessed with. Sometimes things, so I'm not, every person I come across, my antenna don't fly up and things like that. But if I decide to look at somebody, or somebody's so obviously out of whack, it comes to me, then I don't have to see all the behaviors. I can usually tell after a while that something's not right here, something is wrong. And I don't know, it's because if I look into them or something just tells me of it, whether it's a spirit guide or what, that's very possible as well, or their spirit guides. A lot of times what you're hearing from the other person's spirit guide's like, help, let's help us out here. We got problems. But yeah, you can look at somebody and say, if you, again, I turn it on, which again, I'm glad I can do that and not be on all the time, and look at a person. I can get a pretty good idea that, yeah, that they're out of balance. Because, everybody's got energy around them. Right. And so, like take a person, like people tend to store negative energy on their back around their neck. Because you always have you start getting, tensed up or something like that, your neck and shoulders freeze. So all that crap gets stored back there. So part of a healing ritual would be to disperse that energy. It also gives you a clue that there also be other problems as well. And so you really look at somebody and say, we can get your energy squared away right now, but for it to be a permanent fix, we're going to have to put the whole thing back together, which means we got to go back. And we got to pick up that lost piece or pieces.
Now, the only thing I would add to this conversation about myself, because you know how I like bringing everything back to me, is I feel like I attract all of this negativity, all of this drama. In other words, my life is so far from rainbow parts and unicorns that that I look back at, but at the same time, I sure cannot blame it on any trauma in my life. I've had a really good life trauma-wise. It's just a matter of I just attract negativity.
Well, I can think of one trauma. It didn't happen early in your life. When your dad died.
That was a trauma in that I was not expecting it to affect me the way that it did, but at the same time, I felt like professionally anyway that I handled it properly. In other words, it didn't crush me. It didn't take my life and just pull it apart. Right. The biggest trauma was the just not being prepared for the level of emotion, because I deal with dead people all the time. I go to funerals and people have learned, hey, Wesley, is anybody here? They're starting to ask me, the word is getting out. And so in other words, I got to pull my psychic stuff out of my back pocket, on demand nowadays.
But here you were a grown man when this happened.
Right.
And you're very spiritually aware, and you had people checking on you, see how you're doing, and you would talk and stuff like that. You would use the available people that were there that offered help. Now imagine being a small child without having that awareness.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see where that event would be highly traumatic. And I've always heard, now this is something I'm not going to argue it. I've always heard that if you have somebody ripped out of your life suddenly, car wreck, heart attack, whatever, that it's much more traumatic than what I had to go through with a fairly short, but still a few months there to accept the point, with my father passed away of cancer, everyone. So I did, have time to recognize the inevitability of what was going to happen. Question from the Facebook chat. We do want to clarify. Now, Chris actually said it, but we're going to say it again. Yes, soul retrieval, at least in the way that Chris does it, or has done it, is for the living.
Yeah.
To make a living person whole. Now, I'm going to throw you a curveball on that, Chris. I know that a lot of what I do, getting rid of wayward spirits. A lot of what I do is talking to them, but a whole lot of it is actually trying to heal them, to close up their life issues.
Yeah.
Could
we do a soul retrieval on a ghost?
Yes.
If you get them to sit still and do it, yeah, why not?
We'll make them sit still.
If they choose to, to buy into what you're doing.
See, that's what psychics say. No, shoot, use some of that energy, buddy. You grab them by the ghost testicles and you make them sit still. No, short of pushing, throwing your weight around, I generally find that ghosts that want help,
they'll stick.
So yeah, but that's the same with people. If a person doesn't want you to help them, if they, in other words, some people like drama.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
In other words, they feed on it. So, so I would say that. So I think you agree with me. That answers probably the both. But you do see being able to do that if you had a ghost that sat there and said,
if your line of communication, because you would have to help him or her. Well, I'm going to say it's help him or her. You'd have to kind of do your psychic thing and figure out what it is that they need to bring back. You just can't tell them to go get it. You got to actually help them. That spiritual part of yourself has to go back and help them bring it back.
Now that would be insensitive. Tell the poor ghost, you're a ghost. Go get your own damn soul. Yes, that would be wrong. I'll put that in the wrong column.
Put that in your notes. I'm going to teach you how to do this, and you're going to be like the ghost soul retriever. You can make your mark doing that. It'd be like the ghost whisperer, only one more.
If I could ever make my mark all the ways that people told me I could make my mark, I'd just be a mark. I'd be a marking son of a bitch. No, I like what I do. In other words, I'm the guy, Chris, that does not change his own oil. It's not that I don't know how to change my oil. There are people that's how they make their living. They like changing oil. They like crawling under cars and getting their hands dirty. So I give them the business. So I feel the same way about expanding my psychic horizons.
Right.
I'm very comfortable with what I do, and whatever the angels tell me to do, whenever I go into a case, I always say, hey, is this where I'm, I believe that any case that is given to me through normal channels is where I'm supposed to go. So, in other words, I don't advertise in the paper and ask for it.
Right. I understand that.
They're brought to me. So, based on that, I don't worry about being able to do soul retrieval for the simple reason there are people like you that if I decide that it needs to be done, I'll say, handle this, Sutton.
Okay. No, I get that. And, that's one thing. It is true. I mean, there are other things you could do. And, we've talked about that for years. But, you are happy and your guides are happy. Your angels are happy with you being who you are and doing what you're doing. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I've always told you this. If it's there, if you ever want to, but maybe this is what you're supposed to be doing this time around, and that's good enough. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I just feel that if that was what I was supposed to do, it would be more in my face. Now, that's not to say it's not going to come up.
Right, it still could.
It still could. But it's once again, I don't worry about expanding my horizons ever since that damn not being able to levitate objects thing.
That would crush my soul too.
In other words, I believe in God's plan, and I'm just going to take it. We're going to go ahead and take our second commercial break, everybody. The producer says it's time for a commercial. Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Find them every month at Lexington, Kentucky's Mystical Fair, mysticalfairlex.com, or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being. And welcome back to Body and Spirit, brought to you by Mama Rubies. Now, I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to my sponsor, Spirit Mechanics. And Chris, this is actually, I'll throw this into the conversation because it kind of feeds on what we were just talking about. Working with Spirit Mechanics, and I've been on a case with them, and I've had a lot of
case of beer?
Well,
Stephen,
that too, but that was at Scarefest last year. But actually, you know my history a little bit. Usually when I've worked big cases, I've always had, I relied on a psychic because my own gifts. I'm the blunt object, everybody. I'm great at throwing around energy and
you are the soul sheriff.
I am the soul sheriff. But when it comes to being the delicate, sensitive guy that gets the spiritual messages from grandma in the attic, I've had limited success. We'll put it that way. So anyway, everybody, Spirit Mechanics is my go-to team to work with. Generally, when people contact me about a case, unless it just sounds like a slam dunk for what I do, if there's, I generally refer it to them. That's how much faith I put in these people. Despite my own hubris, I will say that they are a gifted and qualified group of individuals. And incidentally, when they see the need, they bring me in on the case. So a little,
they're good guys. I like those guys. They're pretty cool.
And so I just want to give them a little extra plug, and watch for their new website that should be live here in another week or two. So we've talked about where else can we go with soul retrieval? Because I'm trying to make a whole show out of this.
I told you.
No, okay.
I told Wes I didn't think we could get an hour out of this, but
we can do it.
You want me to explain how I was taught to do it?
Yeah, okay.
Let's tell me. I mean, I don't recommend you do this at home. I really don't. But I will tell it.
I got a question from the chat room before we go on. Okay. Can a soul retrieval change a person's direction in life? Okay, that is okay. I know that's the goal. If a person needs a soul retrieval, presumably their life is taking the wrong course. So will rejoining the little farted out bits of their soul, will that... Well, you're not losing big chunks of it usually, so I'm going to...
Well, I know, but it's a traumatic experience. You compare it to corpulence. I mean, flatulence. I mean, not corpulence, flatulence. No, I know, but it's okay. It's
okay, but
it just cracks me
from
up.
Your experience,
yes.
Does rejoining their soul, does it have a major impact on their life? Does it have a minor impact on their life?
Depends on the piece. I mean, if it's a small piece, it can help complete a person. If you have a person who's having a lot of problems, because they don't feel complete, and because of this issue, then it can change their life. Yes.
Now, the other question that someone had in the chat room is this something that is taught? Is it something that that as a shaman / psychic you inherently know? And that's a fair question, because most of the things that I do in my psychic world, if you will, come to me very instinctually. Mm-hmm. But this sounds like a little bit more delicate process. So
it is to me. I mean, because of the responsibility involved, you're actually taking somebody with you that's not initiated into what you do, and just the emotional and the mental emotional impact it can create. You got to know what you're doing. I mean, probably not just doing the thing, doing the retrieval itself, but also being able to talk to the person afterwards about how they feel and that type of thing. It can be pretty shattering in a lot of different ways, in a good way. But if you have somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, it's like somebody who, you go to somebody's house who, as they say, they got a ghost. Well, you find a ghost, and the ghost is really a piece of work. And the team gets scared of it and says, well, yeah, you got a ghost, and it's going to mess you up, but we'll see you later. Okay, they get the thing fired up, and then they leave. It's the same deal. You got to be able to take care of the person when they come back. And that's very important. So probably not instinctual. I mean, some people take to it easier than others. If you are a gifted psychic or medium, would be easier for you to do it probably. But if you're not worth a damn with people, then probably it's you got to be able to do both things. When I was trained, I mean, I had to go through it myself, obviously, and Actually, it was twice. One was pretty traumatic. The other time was something that actually started as a small piece, and it grew and grew and grew. Because I remembered a part. I never believed in reincarnation before, about past lives. I just, it didn't fit with what I believed. And then, well, actually, I actually re-experienced something that happened to me in a past life. I had a vision, and my teacher saw the same vision, and after that, I started remembering more and more and more. And luckily, I was on I've been trained in doing all these other things, and so I was able to deal with it. But if you had just gotten a soul retrieval and with a good person and brought you back and everything was cool, so to start growing, you would need somebody to talk to about it. So there's repercussions down the line possibly as well.
Okay, now, I'm going to throw some hypotheticals out here, just because it sounds like fun. Let's say Wesley had a really traumatic event that left part of his soul behind. And now I'm scared to death of dogs, whatever. When I die, does that piece of soul stay behind, according to your reckoning?
I would think so. Because once it's split, if you have to go get it when you're alive, it's not going to come running to you when you're dead.
Okay.
That's my thought on it. Yes, once it's split, it stays split until it has to be brought back somehow.
So, following up on that idea, let's say reincarnation is a real thing. You come back 50 years down the road, and that little piece of soul is still wandering. How does
it stays where it stays at that point in time where it was lost.
Okay,
so if you come back 50 years later, then it's 100. Let's say you lived to be 50 in the first life, come back 50 years later, it's like say it's 100.
So you got to go through the rest of eternity without that little piece of your soul.
Now we're getting to a part I don't know. You're asking me hypothetically about the energy part.
Right.
That's very true. Now, maybe when you pass and you get, okay, we're going to fit you up, we're going to fix things up, and you go back whole again. I don't know the rules.
Well, none of us know the answers.
Yeah.
I'm asking, because everything that I do in the spiritual world is I have to, in my mind, say A plus B equals C.
Right.
In other words, I don't like this going, the A divided by 207 equals, how many shingles are on the roof. I want to, in other words, I like doing I like knowing the progression. Now, there is a time where, in other words, I consider it above my pay grade. In other words, my job is to get you from point A to point B. Once you go to point B, go about your merry way, whatever. So when we're talking about this topic, and if we, but you say that that piece of soul does not exist, I guess you would say in real time. It is something that is stuck in a moment.
Yeah. Theoretically, the way I was taught, that's the way it is. Now, you can, in the way that this is set up, you go back, in a sense, you go back in time. Is how it works.
Well, yeah, now, I realize you're not.
How does that work?
Traveling. I realize you're not actually time traveling.
Way you are. It's hard to explain.
Well, okay,
I'm lucky I can live with questions and what goes on, because otherwise I'd be a raving lunatic about now. I kind of learned a while back to shrug my shoulders and say, okay, well, that shit works, and I just leave it at that.
And the raving lunatic part is still up for discussion. Now, the other question from the chat room. Damn, we're getting some good questions in there.
Good.
Okay.
Good folks in here.
Now, if we follow the thought process that traumatic events, especially my thought process, where one traumatic event tends to lead you to an entire lifetime of maybe lesser traumatic events, but possibly. still traumatic events that are going to leave just little chunks of your soul left along the timeline. We won't use the fart analogy anymore. But
thank you.
In your experience, does reaching back into time or taking someone back into time to retrieve that part of the soul, is a soul ever really complete by your reckoning?
Depends how dispersal, I guess. You know, I was trying to think. I've not had it myself where it's like this. So you're almost like a shotgun effect here. It's like all over the damn place. Actually, I mean, the little bitty bits you could probably do without. It's a big pit. It's a big pieces. It's the you want to focus on the bigger trauma. Is what you want to focus on. Now you can, you know, you don't have to do this all in one setting either. You can start, and sometimes you start with something smaller, and you work your way up, and just start short, and just keep going back till you hit the big pieces. You can also do that as well. It's almost if you look at it like therapy, you start at a certain point in your therapy, and you generally start where the more things what's bothering you today, and then you go back, and as the patient becomes more and more comfortable with the process, and brave, and then they become braver and more wanting to become whole as a person, they'll start taking bigger risks to go back and face those traumas.
We've got another question in chat room we're going to get to right when we come back from the commercial break. We got our final commercial break coming up. When I get to that, we're going to get to your question in the chat room. But before we go, I do have to say, based on what you just said, my fart analogy is really not that far off the mark. So everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils. They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to CoyoteChris.com to learn more. And that's Coyote Chris Sutton, as seen on television's Ghost Adventures. Now, a couple questions.
Shit, I get me choking.
We've got a few minutes left. I do have a couple. Why? Where are you all on my other shows? We're getting great questions out of the chat room tonight.
Chat room's great.
Do you believe? First of all, I'm going to ask this in a two-parter. Do you believe in the concept of a soulmate? In other words, someone that is meant to complete you as a person.
I believe there are such things. I saw Will's question. I don't know if it. I think you could operate as one single soul and do it well. But the soulmate it creates something even better. These are one of these things that's hard to put into words. It's like trying to put a spiritual experience into words.
Actually, I thought that that little sentence right there was to me, that's what a soulmate is.
Yeah.
I believe the people that you encounter in your life, and honestly, this is not just for love interest. I believe your soulmates are people that reflect you, and the two things together, when they're together, create one better entity. Okay?
Exactly.
But not in a ghost sense, not in a soul sense. In other words, it's the 1 + 1 = 2, and 2 is higher than 1 + 1. and then I also believe in what's the other one? Flames, twin flames. But I do have, a lot of people say you only have one twin flame because the word twin means two. I actually believe twin flames, I believe, are a different animal that, how would I put it? You have things that work well off of each other. In other words, you complement each other, but I don't think it's the same as completing each other. That's my perception of it. But, of course, the question in the chat room was, could a soulmate... how did he word it? Anyway, it basically substitute for soul retrieval. In other words, it could make you whole.
I saw that. No. Because if you're not whole yourself... And I get this question all the time. If I'm doing readings, people come up and sit down and they say, when am I going to find my soulmate? And you look at them, you look at the cards, and they're a freaking wreck. Well, you're not going to, your soulmate is not here to drag you out of the muck. That's not a soulmate. Your soulmate is here to complement, so you can complement each other. To attract your soulmate, you two have to become more complete as a person. Do you have to be perfect? No, you don't have to have every little bitty. I saw the little bitty pieces of soul and stuff like that. Now, it doesn't have to be super complete, but you've got to find your own two legs first. You have to be able to stand as a human being, as a person, and you can still be searching for your best self. That's fine. But when you put yourself in a position where you want to be rescued instead of taking responsibility for your life, then your soulmates are, you're not going to connect. You're not guaranteed to connect with your soulmate in your lifetime.
No, see, that's where I even believe. I believe that you can have, in other words, over the course of your lifetime, whether you know it or not, you might encounter multiple soulmates. In other words, people.
So that's possible.
Yeah, they might have different qualities, but any one of these so-called soulmates would have the same effect on your life if you actually created the connection. Now, the things you just described will prevent you from creating that connection with anyone, twin flame, soulmate, or whatever. So the answer is no. Now, the other question...
Let me say one thing, though.
Okay.
Now, can two people come together who are not quite complete and grasp onto each other, and then will that create the synergy to propel them, together? They work hard together, not expecting one, not expecting the other to rescue them. Can they coalesce into soulmates? Yes, I believe that. You know what I'm saying? Because they're starting on equal ground.
But now the one thing that makes me agree with you when the general answer being no, is because you said a lot of times this would be manifested in a phobia, for example. Yeah. And I can imagine if I was scared to death of dogs, any person that I would meet I would just go, oh God, I love you. I'm not afraid of dogs anymore. So, in other words, the math doesn't work for me in that sense. So I agree with Mr. Sutton, and that happens like once a month tops.
Maybe.
Now, the other thing is, this would fall into karma and destiny as part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that along our lives we are destined to experience certain things. We need certain experiences to evolve. Okay.
Yes.
To ascend, if you will. And
yes.
I think this lifetime, I think I've really dicked it up, just to be clear. But if a person is on track to needing an experience, will a soul retrieval actually work? I'm kind of rephrasing the question the way it's presented, but it did spur that question in my mind. I think
is the person injured in some way, or are they just pretty much whole and just wandering?
Yeah, see, I think that sometimes to become whole, if you will, it's not just a part of our soul missing; it's something that we need to experience in life.
Right. We haven't realized our true soul, our true potential yet. No, I don't think a soul retrieval is appropriate for that. Some people want to use soul retrievals for common colds. I think it's a very intricate and potentially dangerous thing to do, or at least there are some risks involved, and so you don't do it just for a drop of a hat. In this situation, no. I mean, if you just have to journey through life and realize things, and you're talking about destiny and things like that. Now, I use my own life as an example. So, when I was 24, I was engaged. I got engaged to a young lady. We broke up when I was 26 or 27. At the age of 29, and so it didn't work. It just disintegrated. At the age of 29, I got married, and that marriage lasted 15 months. So all this crazy stuff, and is going on with my life. It's just it's falling apart. And so I meet Julia, and during this time, I am not spiritual. I'm not religious. I'm nothing. I'm a secular humanist, sort of person. I have philosophy and things like that. Nothing spiritual or religious. But I was still also experiencing, that I knew there was something, part of me that was missing. Couldn't figure it out. But anyway, that's sort of like that kind of goes on in the background. It's not part of my everyday life, basically. And so I married Julia. Of course, we're still married 29 years later. She's a flipping saint for that. But what happens? Julia, I didn't even know this when we were dating and that sort of thing, used to powwow dance when she was in the Girl Scout Explorers. So we're living in this little bitty town in northeast central Illinois, and Powwow Nationals comes to, I've told this on a lot of different shows, but this kind of shows what we're talking about here. The big powwow comes to the area, a little bit in an improbable place. There's nobody around this county. And what happens, I go into this barn, they're doing a warrior's dance, and bam, I have that satori, that religious, that spiritual experience you can't explain. And my whole life changes in that very flippant of an instant. Mm-hmm. My life is completely, and into that 27, 26 and a half years ago, something like that, 26 years ago, changed my whole life. Now, if any of those two relationships had stuck, I don't go to that powwow. I don't go in that barn. And I'm not me. There's no Coyote. Maybe something happened somewhere another way. I don't know, but I'm looking back. I said, damn, I'm not sure it would have. So there it is. You look back at your life and say, damn, this is a train wreck. But it reads like a novel, and all of a sudden, damn, it makes sense. Because it put me where I needed to be. And I got all these other benefits along with it. A good spouse, good children, all these cool things happen out of it. And that's how it works.
Well, you've heard me say it a dozen times. I believe in destiny.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to also believe in the human condition's innate ability to sidestep it, to avoid it, to not even know when it's there.
That's right.
In other words, yes, you might have a destiny, but I think it's very easy to screw it up.
It's very easy to screw it up. There was an author named Dorothy Parker, and she was talking about somebody else she didn't like, and she says, "Well, you can lead a horticulture, but you can't make her think." And so we're like that, we have to get over ourselves and stay open. But you're right, it's like, especially if it's something that's different from the rest of the herd. Yeah, we do. We have a tendency to fuck things up, but God knows I've done that. But sometimes, there's also an old saying that says, the fates guide those who will, those who won't, they drag. And sometimes life says, you're going, it grabs you by the ear and says your ass is going ahead. And all of a sudden you have to say yes. You say yes to this. You say yes to this life. Mm-hmm. Yes to this gift, whatever it is. And that's what, we have to get over that. We just have to, instead of thinking with our heads, we have to think with our hearts. And all of a sudden that bullshit kind of dissolves away. Because we don't care what other people think. We don't care about whether this looks cool or not. It's like, this is about being who I am. And that's what's important. Thank you for the Coyote Soapbox.
Upon those wise words, we're going to call it a night. But before I do, Chris, I know you probably got something on the calendar that you want to plug. You always do.
Wait a minute, I got a whole paper here. See if I can find it. Ah, here it is. Okay. See this? Okay. Let's see if done that. Oh, we have April the 12th, a Sutton family investigation at the Mineral Springs. Me, Julia, Max, and Emily all investigating together. And this is sold out, though. This is a sold-out event.
You all have never done that, have you?
No, we've never done that. Actually, the brother and sister, Emily, I don't think they've worked together before. Julie and I have, Emily and I have, Max and I have. We're going to bring us all together. It's going to be a craziness. But yeah, we sold that out within like 10 days.
Oh, that's sweet.
Well, we had all these friends and stuff. It's a local thing, so it's at the Mineral Springs. April 20th, I'll be at the Karma Con and at the Sweet Dream Suites in Mattoon, Illinois. April 26th, I'm at the Ashmore Estates with Rebecca Foster, who's a very talented medium. If you want tickets for that, go to www.rebeccafoster.com. May 10th and 11th, I'll be in Arkansas at the Dark Night Paracon. It's an old amusement park, Dog Patch USA. Go to Facebook and look up Dark Night Paranormal, and we will have waiting to get tickets. And this is kind of up in the air, but it's just scheduled for Malvern Manor with Josh Hurd and David Glidden on May the 18th. And maybe we might have a special guest there too. We got to get that. June 1st, Haunted Road Media Paracon at the Mineral Springs. It costs like $5 to get in. Mineral Springs is in Alton, Illinois, by the way, at 301 Broadway. Hinsdale House on June 28th and 29th with Brian Cano and Dan Class. I'll be at July 12th, Mineral Springs Investigation there. That's open to the public. You can just get hold of its rating Zen at the Mineral Springs. July 20th and 21st, I'm with Kelly McCarville, who's out in the chat room tonight. Good to see you, Kelly. And we got some other my Iowa friends, Will and Jacqueline. Some other folks. We'll be at Cedar Rapids Psychic and Paranormal Expo. I'm not sure what the name of the place it's at, Kelly. You're going to have to I forgot. Sorry. Be August 10th, I'll be at the Farrar School. We're having a benefit for Will and Jacqueline Conkle, who do so much for so many people, and they've just had shitty luck. And so we're putting on some stuff. That'll be me and Kelly, 3 or 4 other folks. We're still kind of in the planning stage with that. But Kelly McCarville and I will be doing that. I'll be at SilCon in Mattoon, Illinois, September 6th and 7th. That's at the Cross County Mall. It's free. You can just walk in. And since it's a mall, how are they going to charge admission? September 13th, 14th, and 15th, I'll be at the Scare Fest in Lexington, Kentucky. I don't have my speaking engagement yet. I did put in something, but I'm taking the serial killer route this year in my idea, so we'll see if they take it. October 19th and 20th, it's Ratings In Psychic Fair at the Mineral Springs in Alton. October 19th, I'll be at the McPike Campout. Geez, I'm getting the whole year here. 25th, 26th, on November 16th and 17th, I'll be at the Quad Cities Paranormal and Psychic Expo that Kelly puts on there. I'm not sure we're going to be at this year, but we got a long time to get that out. So that's basically do. One other thing, I'm starting to do a new show. It's on VidiSpace with Charlotte Harden called The Spirit Drum. I can't do right now. I'm under contract, so I cannot do any live, unscripted paranormal shows. So I'm going the spiritual route, and so that's going to be debuting in April on VidiSpace. And I gotta say, one of the reasons I do that now is because the man who's interviewing me tonight, he's always helped me with this. I had a show a while back, and he's always been a good mentor, and he's always been, a good example. I hate telling him this shit because it swells his head, but he does. He helps me a lot, whether he knows it or not. And so it gives me the skills and the courage to go ahead and branch out some more. This is a whole different adventure for me as far as this goes. So that'll be starting in April. So that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Good luck with your new venture. But calling me a mentor is like really a stretch. That's I would call me more of an antagonist.
See, to give the man a compliment, this is what he plays it off.
I
You
don't
need a
take
soul
compliments
you need a
well.
soul retrieval. That's it. Next time I'm coming to Kentucky, your ass is going on soul retrieval. Done deal. That and your tattoo. We have about $500 collected in the chat room right now. You know that.
I don't care. I don't care if you give me the $500. I ain't getting a tattoo.
You're getting a tattoo. You are getting a Jason Boyd's going to do your tattoo. You're getting a tattoo.
Oh yeah, if I was going to trust somebody to give me a tattoo, it would be Boyd.
Oh
That's
your guy. It's all lined
definitely
up.
The way it would go down.
It's your destiny.
Be really
destiny.
nice to me, and I'll get my ear pierced again.
You already have your ear pierced. You can't fool me.
It's filled in. See, it's all healed.
Oh bullshit! No, that ain't count. I'll do that with an ice cube and a pen. I ain't paying $500.
We're out of time, Sutton. Shut up.
up.
Anyway, because he spent 10 minutes telling you his yearly calendar when he could have just gave me a month and said CoyoteChris.com. No, he had to go into December.
Well, that's assuming I keep up with my calendar, so it's probably better to do it that way.
So hope everybody has enjoyed Body and Spirit tonight. Brought to you by Mama Ruby's. Hey, we'll be back in about 2 weeks.